Alrighty, I decided to check out a not new, as it came out like a week or two ago, a Netflix original called Pain Hustlers. Um, it's got Emily Blunt and Chris Evans, and it's directed by David Yates, who did the Harry Potter movie. So I'm like, how bad could it be? It's pretty bad. So the story is, I don't remember if it said based or inspired uh, by true events. I believe it said inspired, and I hope it said inspired because there's no way that the movie could have it could have been real life, but it just was so far-fetched in some areas. Like, how does someone go from top of the world, like bottom, no money, to then making all the money in the world and then decide, you know what, no, I'm a good person, I don't need money. That's pretty much the basic gist of the plot. But like, Emily Blunt's character has a child, and they were living in the garage of of her sister, and she ended up getting a job with Chris Evans' character at this pharmaceutical sales company, and the company starts off all clean, selling the drug properly, and then all of a sudden they decide to just prescribe it to everyone, and then people start overdosing. It's a movie based around the opioid epidemic here in the States. Um, the story is a little. It's There's too much time jumps, but what's nice about this is that the time jumps are like signaled and like, oh yeah, here's a time jump, here's a time jump. But surprisingly, this all takes place in less than a year, which I think I'm like, that's a little too fast and too slow for what they were planning. Like, the storytelling structure, like, I don't know why you would just fast forward a few months when in reality I don't think the story would actually take that long, and would actually, like, I understand that it's at stake. I don't know. What I'm trying to say is that at around the halfway point of the movie just starts to drag. It's a 2 hour movie, but the last hour feels like 2 hours when the first hour feels like 30 minutes. So it's a bit of a drag at the end. So story, hot pocket. Visuals, there wasn't much to see, although I really liked, I think that's more directing, so I'll talk more about it later, but like, the music was pretty good, but it's like nothing memorable. Like, to this moment, I still remember all the needle drops in Barbie, all the needle drops in Spider-Verse, the score of Oppenheimer, the music in Blue Beetle. Like, I will remember soundtracks when they were like good and like memorable, but this one just not that memorable. And also, like, I'm just looking at all the different names for this movie, and Pain Hustlers is such a lame name. Like, Marchands de Douleur is the French Canadian title. Like, that's just so cool, and its translation is pretty much like, it's probably the same thing, but it just sounds cooler. Mafia da Dor, which is Portuguese, that's literally the Pain Mafia. That's so much cooler. Such cooler titles elsewhere in the world. But yeah, let's give it a hot pocket score. Directing, the one thing that this film actually does have a saving grace in. I do like some of the bits how it's directed and how the story is like kind of structured. I like how they had like the interview process in black and white to show you that it's in the future, while the rest of the movie is all colored in the past. That is the one thing I can give credits to David Yates. And other than that, pacing was bad, just bad. So like, I started checking the time and how much was left in the movie more and more as we got to the end, and I'm like, oh god, can this finish up, please? I just want this to be over. And when it was finally over, I'm like, oh, thank god, it's done. I have won the pain hustle. So I'll give it a Hot Pocket score. It's gotta be a Hot Pocket because it just, all those storytelling techniques that I was just talking about, it's better done in other movies. Acting, it's all right, but it's got too much of an A-list cast in my opinion for it to just be all right, just like Killers of the Flower Moon. Hot Pocket there. Um, Expectations and experience. I didn't have much expectations, and it was a lame experience. So, Hot Pocket. I guess the one thing I could say about this movie is if you want to learn more about the opioid epidemic and stuff through like an interesting storytelling narrative, go watch John Oliver in Last Week Tonight, as he makes it more interesting and it's more fun and it's done in a quarter of the time. Or if you watch, like, I think he has 3 videos on opioids alone, but then he has one that's also very similar to the Pain Hustlers plot, which is the marketing to doctors, which, again, you watch all 3 of those, you'll still have 15 minutes left over instead of watching this movie. Pretty much that's all I have to say. Go watch John Oliver instead. Other than that, leave a like, comment down below if you see this movie, and if you did, I'm sorry. It was just pretty boring, and I'm gonna say this is a certified Hot Pocket hand grenade. And subscribe if you haven't already. And other than that, I'll leave you guys to it.